Crowded House on K4CO. Don't dream it's over. You're listening to Kev on the radio, breaking in a little early this morning. Well, this afternoon. Yeah, it is this morning.
It's morning.
This week's kind of a little crazy so far. We are joined with Niki McIntosh, Director of Development at the nonprofit Finally Home. Niki, can you tell us a little bit or a lot of it about Finally Home?
There's a ton of nonprofits doing really incredible things, and it can be overwhelming to learn about them. So I think this is such a cool space that you guys have made where it's like, hey, we got music, but we also got a cause.
Thank you.
And we have 4 times more music than any other.
That's right.
I mean, get it.
Thank you for mentioning that.
I can be in commercials. I have this love-hate relationship where I'm like, mindless time, but then I'm like, okay, wait, back to the music, because that's why I'm here. Thanks for being on radio. It does it right. Of course.
Thank you.
I love it. So I'm with Finally Home. We are a nonprofit. Our home base is Windsor, Colorado, but we serve families all over Colorado and really nationwide, which is awesome. And we are a post-placement support for foster, adoption, and kinship families. We've been around for about 16 years. And really our goal is to equip foster, adoptive, and kinship families to build healthy homes where kids can heal. And I'm going to throw some statistics out there because I'm a big fan of numbers, because sometimes numbers help us make sense of the world and understand the reason for the nonprofit existing.
Yeah.
So there's about 407,000 children in the U.S. foster care system due to, this breaks my heart, neglect, abuse, or inability to provide care. Now, here's the cool part, and you and I were kind of talking about this earlier. You were sharing a bit of your story that you were adopted. When you start talking to people about fostering and adopting, you actually find out that almost everybody knows somebody that's fostered or that's adopted. Mm-hmm. So it's this really quiet, unknown world until you become aware of it. And then you start talking and you're like, oh, actually, there's almost nobody that hasn't been touched by foster adoption, which is really cool. Because the narrative that tells us is like, hey, families care about these kids that are at risk, that have been left by no fault of their own. So as a country, hey, we're actually doing something about it because we know people that have fostered and adopted. Here's the other niche that we don't talk about a lot. Do you know what kinship care is?
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah,
Please
so this is really cool. Fun learning point. So kinship care is basically when next of kin takes in a kiddo. So we have in our Finally Home community, we have a lot of grandparents that are raising grandkids because their parents can't do it. For whatever reason, we have a lot of aunts and uncles raising nieces and nephews. So kinship is just kind of that concept of the kid doesn't necessarily go through the foster care system. They really just go to their next of kin.
Right.
So we call it kinship. So we've got 407,000 children in the system. We know that families are doing things about it because we all know somebody that's fostered or adopted or provided kinship care, which is awesome. It's a great thing. There's really cool organizations out there that are recruiting foster and adoptive families. We work with them. We partner with them. We love it. Grandparents are saying yes to raising their grandkids. So these people are stepping up to do it. But then there's this other side of the narrative that people don't talk about it. And this is what it is. Here's another stat. Between 30 and 50% of foster parents quit each year due to lack of training and support.
That's
heartbreaking. That's a huge number. That's not a small percentage. So we've got 30 to 50% of these people quitting. So now we have to ask the question, why would they need training and support? If the reason they're quitting is due to lack of training and support, what kind of training and support do they need? I mean, it's just you're raising kids, right? And most families that foster adopted, they've got biological kids of their own. So they've successfully raised human beings to the point where they turn around and say, hey, we actually think we can help raise someone else's kid too. But here's the reality. Because of these at-risk and vulnerable children and youth who by no fault of their own have been placed in a system because of abuse or neglect from someone else, they've experienced this big word that I think is less of a taboo than it might have been a couple years ago, and that's trauma. Right? It's a word we're all becoming a little bit more familiar with. Trauma there's so many different things that can cause trauma, but then mental health, emotional instability, lack of emotional regulation are some of these things that come out of their trauma. So many of them from a young age, multiple times over, have experienced trauma. So let's say that you meet a kiddo, he's 8 years old, he's coming into your home, you're a foster parent, and you're his 6th placement. What that means is that's 6 families that have said, we can't love you. You don't fit in this family. And that's already after coming out of his biological family, who, right, those families should be the safest spaces for us to grow and live and belong and learn our sense of place and purpose. And when they're ripped out of that, well, that's already a trauma that they don't know how to deal with, because no one's ever given them the tools to say, hey, you're coming from a broken system, but that doesn't actually mean you have to stay a broken person. And so you have these families that say yes to something really beautiful and so good. We want to foster, we want to adopt, and this kiddo comes into their home, and then there's just kind of this chaos that starts to ensue when the kiddo's trauma starts to come up. They don't know how to receive love. They don't know how to live within healthy boundaries. They don't know how to listen to parents, because their whole life has been fight or flight, right? You're taking a kid out of a boxing ring, you're putting them into paradise and saying, just live normal. I mean, they have no idea. They can't comprehend that.
It's like they're not used to being treated well.
Yeah. And we think like, oh, well, somebody starts loving you unconditionally, you just open up, you receive it, and your life changes.
Like it's just that easy.
It's just that easy, right? But everything you learn and read about trauma and mental health, reality is there's layers and levels that you have to learn how to navigate and learn how to heal. And that's kind of the really cool thing that we've discovered is the healthiest healing, the best place in the world for kids to heal is inside of a healthy home. It's not in a group home. It's not even necessarily on the couch talking to a mental health specialist. It's coming into a home where there's tools and resources and training to help these kids build healthy habits where they can learn to heal. So that's kind of what we do. We come around families that have said yes to fostering, adopting, providing kinship care, and they realize, hey, we actually need some trauma training. We need a community of people that can mentor us and coach us and support us. We need tools and resources to help these kiddos learn emotional regulation. So we grab hold of those families and we just love them with everything that we've got in every way we know how.
That's impressive. That is really great. What a great program. We are going to take a break really quick with Niki McIntosh, Director of Development at Finally Home.
It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. I'm getting used to it.
We need an acronym.
Finally Home is easy. Anyway, you are a fan of 80s music, and our little breaks are not commercials. They're music. So
let's go.
I picked a handful of 80s music for you. Here's Talk Talk, It's My Life on K4CO. We'll be right back. Talk Talk, It's My Life. Welcome to K4CO. This is Kevin. We are breaking in with a special guest, and we're back with Niki McIntosh, Director of Development from the, I'll get it. Yeah. By the end of the day, I'll get it.
That's right. We'll find an abbreviation.
The nonprofit Finally Home.
Yes.
And you help families, foster care, adoptive, and kinship.
Yep.
Tell us, most importantly, why Finally Home does this.
Yeah, that's huge. So real quick plug. So our website is finallyhome.net, and you can find so many of these stats that we're running through, and all these resources that I'm about to share with you are there. So if you know foster, adoption, or kinship families, so grandparents raising grandkids, aunt and uncles raising nieces and nephews, please send them there, because there's resources, there's a place you can plug in with us, and we exist to serve those families. So let the families know. But we kind of talked about what we do, and here's the why of why is this post-placement support for these families really helping them build healthy homes where kids can heal. Why is it important? So in September 2020, about 133 young adults left state care due to aging out. So what aging out means is they've been in the foster care system, in and out of homes, group homes, family homes. Now they've turned 18, they're considered legal adults.
So 18
is, okay, now you're out, you're an adult. Essentially good luck, unfortunately, is the way that our system's designed. And there's some really cool agencies that are stepping into that gap and saying, hey, we'll help you transition. But so that's just a huge number. And then on average, these teenagers that age out have lived in 13 homes. Like, just think, 13 homes. That's 13 different families, 13 different, sometimes schools, if you're going to different parts of the county. And then a survey done by the National Youth Advocate Program showed that more than 1/3 of foster youth who leave the system in Colorado are homeless by age 21. And so we look at that and we say, not only is this creating problems down the road, but we've got to step in and we've got to start solving the problem before the problem happens. So how can we do that? Hey, let's build more healthy homes where kids can heal, so that when they turn 18, hey, they've been able to stay in one home until they've been reunited back with their family, if that's the purpose of fostering, or they've been adopted by a family because this family's learned how to navigate this trauma in life and heal and grow together. So that, at the end of the day, is our heart. And here's how we do it. We have 10 active programs programs that help us serve every member of these families. Because you have some organizations that'll say, hey, we provide support resources just for the kiddo that's being fostered or just for the kid that's been adopted. But what we found is it's, hey, the whole family actually needs support. The parents need support, the bio kids need support, and the kiddo that's been fostered or adopted needs support. Because again, if we strengthen that family unit, there's talk now right in our culture, what happens when you have the breakdown of the family unit? We're starting to see some of that fallout. And so we say, let's go back to the basics, like strengthen the family. And some of the programs, this is awesome. COVID forced us virtual. So we have a ton of stuff that's now on demand. We have virtual trainings. We have virtual conferences, if you will. We've got in-person trainings and resources. Some of them are physical tools, like our toolkit for big emotions that I'll talk about in just a minute, that parents and caregivers can use to help a kiddo learn how to regulate emotions. So we've just said, how many different ways can we find to serve families? And let's make all of those ways possible. So part of some of what our programs this is a really cool thing called the Toolkit for Big Emotions. And it is this cute little backpack that kiddos can throw on the back of just on their back, and inside of it are what us as adults would see as fidget toys. But what these fidget toys are, it comes with a little card and a little book of emotions, and we train the caregivers or the parents on how to use this toolkit. So a kiddo starts to escalate. Let's say if you have a toddler, you know when a tantrum's coming, right? There's signs, there's lack of sleep, there's, all right, we're about to blow a gasket. Well, these kiddos, the same thing happens when trauma starts to be triggered. So the caregiver or parent says, hey, go grab your big emotions, your toolkit for big emotions. Let's pull it out and let's find a fidget toy in there that helps you identify how you're feeling. So one of my favorite things in there is this little, we call it a breathing ball, but it's like one of those little kinetic balls that like expands and then unexpands. Words are hard. And so kids kind of use that. Okay, let's take some deep breath out, like deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, how are you feeling? And then there's pictures in it. So let's look at your face. Is your face sad? Are you angry? And then we kind of go into that booklet and we use the fidget toys to give the kids something to do with their hands, right? I mean, I'm an adult, but I still fidget.
Right.
And so it gives them tools to be able to touch and use and engage with. And then the caregiver can say, okay, now let's use that action to identify the emotion that comes with it. And now that we've identified it, what can we use in our toolkit to start to regulate that emotion? Because emotions are normal. Emotions are good. Emotions are great. They will make us human. It's how we're able to connect. But emotions are bad if I don't know how to regulate them. So our toolkit for big emotions is one of those things. Our Solid Rock students, this is our teen program. It's super awesome. The teens, we do these a couple times a year, and it's a teen event. So teens from the same community get to come together, be with like-minded teens who say, oh, these people are kind of like, they're like me. They've been fostered, they've been adopted, and they do a service project because we want to teach them how to give back and be a part of their community. They do a curriculum piece. This year, our theme was kindness is cool. And so everything that we did was, how can we help you understand that kindness is a superpower, and it also makes you pretty cool. And there's some pretty cool things you can do with it. And then they went to a hockey game, an Eagles hockey game. And for some of these kids, this is the first hockey game they've ever been to. They were adopted from overseas, and they're like, what is this? Live action, super awesome. The Eagles mascot came out and hung out with us. So that's our teen program. Our Superhero Academy is for our kiddos. And we just had a family strengthening conference, which is one of our in-person resources. And one of the kiddos there was so cute. She came up and she was talking to one of our leaders, and she said, are all of these kids like me? Like, do all of these kids come from different families? And we were able to say, yeah, they're all just like you. And in that, she found a place of belonging and a sense of community and just let go and had fun, right? So there's safety that's created in the community. And then coaching and mentoring is huge. Just parents being able to come and say, we don't know how to navigate this. Can you help? And we connect them with parents that have been through what they've been through, or trauma-trained experts or family coaching experts that say, hey, let's give you some tools and resources for how to have this conversation, for how to navigate the situation, whatever that is. So trauma training is just another huge aspect that we do. And everything that we put out, all of our curriculum, all of our trainings, all of our virtual and on-demand resources are psychoeducational and research-based to help families navigate that trauma piece, because that's the biggest thing that's missing in our post-placement support gap.
So you're not just teaching skills and offering tools, it's almost a therapeutic approach.
We call it a wraparound approach. So, hey, we want to equip you for success, because if you're able to keep that kiddo in your home for as long as possible, the system of that repetitive from home to home starts to break down, and we start to see healthier kids come out of the foster care system, essentially. Yep.
And how did you, if you don't mind me asking a personal question, how did you get involved personally? What does this do for you?
Yeah, super great question. So I am really good friends with one of Finally Home's board members, and my background is in a little bit of development, and I got to sit down with Mark and Kristen and just kind of hear their heart and vision. And they actually, so they're the founders, Mark and Kristen Orphan. Isn't that funny, their last name? I love it. I know, ironic. I'm like,
I was just going to ask you about them too. I didn't even notice that either.
Have it changed, yes. Their last name is Orphan. They're phenomenal, but just sat down and they started Finally Home because they adopted two girls from LA and just realized there was no support when these kiddos came into their home, and they had two bio kids, and they said, we're great parents, we got this down. And then they brought their girls in and they said, we weren't equipped, we weren't prepared, and we need help, and now there's nowhere to go. And so they've just made it their life's work to say, we're going to be the place where families know they can go to feel loved, supported, but more than that, educated and equipped, right? Because if I give you $1, I'm serving you, but I'm not equipping you to go make another $1, right? So it's one of those, what's that saying? If you teach a man, like if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah. But if you teach a man to fish, you can feed him for a lifetime. So how cool would it be? Like this year, we were able to serve over 1,000 families. So we now know that in northern Colorado, nationwide, there are now 1,000 more families equipped with some kind of trauma-trained healing or tool or resource for the families that say yes to fostering and adopting. So for us, we're like, December, come on, that's a win. You know, 2024. We're really excited about it.
Bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on. Good word.
Excellent. Well, this is very informative and interesting, and just your website is very informative too.
There's a lot of colors going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's and it's not too busy either. You're also very faith-based. I'm reading, and you work with a lot of churches and agencies. Is there one that sticks out more? Is it more faith-based than anything else, or do you work with schools or agencies, or is this really a Christian faith?
Yeah, that's a great question. All the above. So at Finally Home, we say we serve and will serve every family that comes to us and every child that comes to us, because our mission first and foremost is to build healthy homes where kids can heal. We are the movement came out of, and it's always been a partnership between government agencies, churches, and community partners. Always and always will be, because the church is a huge place to go for resources for your community. And personally, some of us on staff say, hey, the church's mandate is to care for the widows and the orphans. And so we want to get churches who are such an active, involved part of their community involved in this mission. So we partner with churches because you also have a lot of families that foster and adopt that go to these local churches and run into the same problem. The church told me to adopt because it's a great thing. The church told me to foster, and now I've got this kid. And guess what? The church isn't equipped to do. Help you learn how to be a parent for these sweet, amazing kiddos. So we come into churches, we come into agencies. We've got an educational track with the university out in California that we train their students on how to do just that family support from a social work standpoint. So again, we're just looking at every avenue, and we're saying, and even with in Larimer and Weld County, how can we partner with DHS? How can we partner with placement support agencies to really make sure that families that say yes to this know that there's post-placement support? So we're across the board. Who can we help, and how can we partner with
it's
every
such
aspect?
what a great resource too.
Yeah.
And we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back.
Go.
And we'll be back with Niki McIntosh with Finally Home. We'll be right back. Here's Simple Minds. Don't you forget about it. And we're back with Niki McIntosh, Director of Development at the Finally Home.
Oh, that was good. That was smooth yet.
You brought in an interesting analogy for what you guys do. You're a big Star Wars fan. Let's start with that.
Okay, so this is fantastic. So I love sharing about Finally Home, and I'll give presentations, and I'm a visual person. Like, listen, it's one thing when someone gets up there and talks my ear off, but man, if you can pull out a lightsaber, okay, in the middle of a presentation, you will have my undivided attention. So one of the things that I kind of picked up just as a quick snapshot of a way to explain kind of how we serve these families is, so in Star Wars, if you are a Star Wars fan, there's episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. And the Jedi Order has fallen, like the world is in shambles. Luke Skywalker is a nobody who's trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. And he meets Yoda. And Yoda basically teaches him how to use the Force. And so here we kind of have these two pictures, right? Luke Skywalker is still the hero. He goes on to save the Jedi Order, do all these incredible things, but he wouldn't have learned what he needed to know to change the world without Yoda. And so our mission is to come alongside the Luke Skywalker, which are these amazing families that have said yes to fostering and adopting, or single parents that have said yes, fostering and adopting, to come alongside them, recognize them as the heroes, celebrate them for the choice that they've made, the kiddos they've taken in, but then come alongside them and support them in every way that we can so that they're equipped to change and in some cases save the lives of these children and teens who are in need of a temporary safe haven or a forever home. And then at that point, I'm like pulling out my lightsaber and like it makes noise and it's super distracting.
That's like you should have brought it.
Yeah, no, man, like I should, or like set up the noise thing on my phone. But yeah, so that's just kind of a way that we paint the picture of like, hey, we want to come alongside the people that are the real heroes.
That's great.
And that's these families.
And Empire Strikes Back was the best episode too.
I mean,
I must say.
You know, they just don't make them like they used to.
No.
Like that was
Well, pretty much cartoons anymore.
I know, and then every time I give that example, I'm like, I really need to go back and watch that. But I love,
I kind of feel like that was
movie.
the best one. That was
And
great.
then I go back to that. Yep.
You
totally.
also have a quite an unusual partnership.
Oh, unusual. No, amazing. Absolutely amazing. So when you become a nonprofit, you find out that there are opportunities, not just in your local community, but there are opportunities nationwide and there are opportunities international because there's really no new need under the sun. Mm-hmm. And so what we ended up, we stumbled across them in a really beautiful way, but it's an organization that runs children's homes in Belize. And these homes are full of children that have basically been abused or neglected. And so they've been removed from their biological homes and they've been placed into these children's homes. And as you can imagine, you basically take just kids that have been through the ringer and you put all of them in one, like what could go wrong? I mean, that just sounds like Haven, doesn't it? And so we met with a couple that runs these homes and they said, hey, the resources that you have, this emotional regulation, these toolkits for big emotions, this curriculum, we need it for our caregivers and we need it for our kids. Will you help support us? And so we spearheaded a project with one of their children's homes last year, and we provided our toolkit for big emotions to every orphan in one of these homes, and then we provided specialized training for their caretakers along with specialized curriculum. And the feedback that we got, this is like, Kevin, this is one of my favorite stories. So we got a story back from one of these caretakers and she said, I think we have a picture of it. With fostering and adopting in orphans, you can't always show their faces. So this is one of those pictures, man, I wish I could show the world, but I'm just gonna have to paint it for you. All right. So we're in Belize, we're in an orphanage, it's kind of a dirt wooden floor, and there's a group of kiddos and they're all kind of starting to banter. There's a little bit of escalation happening. And in the middle of this, you have this one girl that says, everybody stand back. And she goes and gets her toolkit for big emotions and she puts it on the ground. She says, okay, everybody stand back. And she empties the bag out on the ground and all these little fidgets come out. And she says, I need to figure out how I'm feeling. And so it's just this, like, suddenly this kid knows that she's having an emotion, knows that she has something she can do to identify the emotion. And there's this natural curiosity that peaks and this problem solving that starts to happen where she says, I'm feeling something. I now have a tool that I can figure out what it is I'm feeling. Okay, everybody stand back. This is my time to shine, right? Like you just see that and you hear that in her voice. So that project was so successful for us. That partner agency basically went to the government and said, hey, there are 9 other children's homes in this country. This worked really well. Can we do it in the rest of them? And the government said yes. And so they came back to us and they said, listen, we've got permission to do this with the 9 remaining children's homes in Belize. Will you help us? To which we said, absolutely, it's what we do and it's who we are. So we're super excited about that. And that just becomes a matter of funding. So every piece of funding we can get goes straight towards an orphanage for that specific initiative. So super exciting, like to be able to say, hey, we're helping shape a country as far as orphan care goes and equipping these kiddos that, may never end up back in their homes with some tools that they can use for the rest of their life to become healthy, whole individuals in that country is exciting for us. So a natural expansion of what we do here, just, internationally.
Just doing it over there as opposed to bringing them here.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? I mean, I think COVID it opened up this world of, it shut things down, but then, man, it also created so many opportunities for creativity and partnerships.
Yeah.
And how can we send and share resources to places we might not have even thought about 4 years ago?
And that's a great story about the girl, just to witness the effectiveness of
everybody stand back.
Finally home. That's great.
I need to identify how I'm feeling. Like, sometimes I want to do that as a human. Like, I'm in a meeting and I'm like, can everybody just pause?
Can I have the floor, please?
While I identify how I'm feeling about whatever's going on in my mind right now. Oh, man. So good.
That's great. You guys are really attacking this from all angles. It's very impressive. I want to make sure we're going to take another break and then come back, but I also want to make sure we're covering all the bases here. You're doing my job for me today.
You make it easy. We got 80s music playing. I got a microphone in front of me.
You're great interview.
I can talk about Star Wars.
All right.
Come on. It's Wednesday. It is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
That's right. It's early Friday.
I'm excited.
All right.
Man.
Well, let's just take a little break then, and we will be back with Niki McIntosh with Finally Home. And we are joined by a special guest. If you just tuned in, we are with Niki McIntosh, Director of Development at the nonprofit Finally Home, helping families with foster and adoptive and kinship children. I mentioned earlier off the air, my sister and I were adopted way back when. And, until you get a little older, back then it wasn't, you're just, all right, well, you're just a part of this family. There was really no discussion about adoption. It was never a secret. My parents didn't keep it a secret that we were adopted, but they didn't really explain to that. And so we kind of navigated that on our own as we got older, developing our own psychology and personalities. But I can't, and just personal struggles, a lot of identity crisis in and out, my sister as well. Do you deal a lot with that? Do you keep in touch with these kids after 18? Is there any way of reaching out to them or being in touch with them after they're 18 and on their own? Like you said?
Yeah, that's a great question. So really our focus at Finally Home is supporting the families while those kiddos are in their home. What we are very good at doing and what we love to do is resourcing families. So let's say that they've got a kiddo that has quote unquote aged out, but they want to keep in touch. We love partnering those families with agencies that can help that young adult kind of really get launched or do different things like that. So as far as us personally, our leadership will keep in touch with incredible families and incredible kiddos. But as far as us continuing to serve them, we really work to connect them with people that are experts at that point and the needs that they have to continue healing and thriving in that new space that they're in.
So you can only do so much.
Right? You think.
Come on.
Man. No, but there's just so many incredible partners out there that we love to work with. And your story too, you and I kind of were talking, fostering and adopting is one of those crazy things where until I was exposed to the world of it, it wasn't even on my radar. But now that I know about it, almost every single person that I talk to knows somebody that has been fostered or adopted, or I find out they were adopted or they were in the foster care system at some point. And so it's almost this unspoken, and I don't even want to say it's a taboo, but that's kind of one of the things that we really try to do well in Finally Home is create community. Because there's parents that will start struggling with some of these things that their kids are going through, or their kids start struggling. And it's really hard if, say you were adopted, to go to your best friend and say, hey, I'm going through an identity crisis. And your friends never experienced what you've experienced in life. Your viewpoint is very unique because of the experiences you've been through. So trying to find people of like minds and similar backgrounds who get it and who can look at you and say, listen, I can't solve this, but I can sit in the space with you and understand is beautiful. I mean, and sometimes some of the best healing just happens in community where we can sit and talk and say, like, my experience has shaped my worldview. My experience has shaped how I interact with the world, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. And it's hard because you and I were talking too about your experience with like kind of making the choice of, do I want to go find my bio family or am I actually good with where I am? How did you kind of decide that?
I think, I was curious for so long.
Which, I mean, we're naturally curious, right? It's like, well, I want to know where I'm from.
Well, I think I reached a certain age, maybe around, I don't know, early adolescence, just like probably at a family Christmas party or something. It's like, I don't all these people look alike except me and my sister. We don't identify with these people other than just knowing them and growing up with all my cousins. And it was, great extended family and, a lot of cousins, a lot of fun. But there was just that underlying factor of there's just something not as organic about this with my sister and I. But and so I thought about it for years and years, and was always a little trepidatious about it. My sister went out and did it. She had a relationship with her biological mom for a while. It wasn't easy, to say the least.
Yeah.
For either of them. Yeah. So it's a tricky thing, and I do love programs like this and like you said, just community that brings people together that can identify with other people and themselves more so than just talking about it.
Yeah, that beauty and diversity. And I think a part of it too is us just educating people around us. Like, hey, there's always going to be this part of you that is different from your friends and family and people that grew up with their biological parents. Like, that's always going to be something you carry with you. But how do we turn that into something that we celebrate in diversity and community and resiliency, right? What you've overcome, having to come out of what you came out of, even though you still might have had a great childhood.
Yeah.
There's questions and there's scars and there's things you might always carry with you. And the reality is it's actually made you sometimes a more whole and resilient human being because you've had to choose, right? Yeah. You've had to say, I could go find her, or I could look around and I could say, do I look different? Yes. But is what I have good? And can I learn to accept and embrace and live fully into this, right? And there's not necessarily right or wrong answer in that situation, which the world wants to say there is.
Right. And that's how I kind of embraced it. It's like, well, this is, and my parents were always honest about it. Well, this is what it is, adoption. This is what adoption is. And but, without all the psychology, of course, behind it.
Yeah, well, all that stuff is so new,
I know.
It's such a new
people
language.
Actually talk about, like you said, their emotions now and whatnot. So, and that's helpful for, certainly the kiddos.
Yeah, totally. Well, thanks for sharing.
Oh, of course. There's another interesting thing on your website here, the blog. You have pretty cool resources for families. Real-time resources. So something else we try to do is just really stay kind of active and vigilant. And how can we quickly and continuously resource families, not just with training and education, but with, quick tip, 5-minute read tools. So on our website, finallyhome.net/blog, you will find just some of our most recent blog posts. One of the things that we talked about recently was what to do when your young adult doesn't want to take their mental health medication. Real talk, like how to, as a parent, you can't force a kid to take a pill, right? So, what are some tools and questions and conversation starters that you can use to start engaging with that teenager? Another one, this is one of my favorites, mostly because I read it because I need it. Our blog post was called Understanding Gen Z, which is 1997 to 2012 was the years they were born. Understanding Gen Z slang from our Solid Rock teen students. So that's our teen program. So we went and kind of interviewed some of our foster and adoptive teenagers, and we were like, all right, can you just give us a rundown of some of these words that we're hearing as parents and teachers and just people in the community? So one of the ones I pulled out of there was BET, B-E-T. Do you know what bet means? Yeah, right. Bet. I go make a bet at I'm going to make a bet. Okay. So it's not actually I'm going to go make a bet. It means, okay, yes, or let's do it. You're just like, wait, okay. Bet. Okay. Why not just say okay? What happened to far out and groovy?
I think they brought back bro and bra has come back.
I can't stand that. I'm kidding. That's showing my age. So.
Oh man, no. And then one of the other ones, and this is helpful for parents, whether you're a foster, adoption, or kinship caretaker, parent or not, is how to work through parental guilt and take time for yourself. Parents are superheroes. You are keeping multiple human beings alive. How do you learn to balance that responsibility with also self-care, with self-sacrifice? Because you need to be a healthy individual to build a healthy home. So Absolutely. That's an awesome article on there. And then if you go to our website too, there's also a book that you can download about dealing with stress and anxiety as a new foster parent. Because man, we want to come alongside you and just cheer you on and keep you in the game. And then this is cool. If you go to one of our blog posts, kind of talks about our superheroes, and our superheroes are a part of our Superhero Academy, which is our kids program. And all these superheroes that we've designed each have characteristics. So their superpower is a characteristic that is found in a healthy home. So they're research-based. It's kind of cool. So our superpowers are kindness, self-control, friendship, communication, confidence, make plans and dream big, managing strong feelings, and problem solving. So we kind of have an article in there, but you can also download a coloring book for your kids, just kind of to start learning about our different superheroes and what their superpowers mean, and how every one of us has innate superpowers within ourselves: kindness, self-control, friendship, communication, and we can practice these things every day to make ourselves stronger in the superhero world. So those are some things we have online on our website, familyhome.net. Easy to access, free resources for families all over the place.
Very helpful.
Yep.
And, well, 2023 certainly isn't over yet.
No way.
Tell us your goals for the end of the year.
Yep.
And then some of your goals for 2024.
Love it. So 2023 was amazing. We ended up serving more families than we anticipated, and it is truly an honor and a privilege to know that they're trusting us to come to us for that. 2024, we are looking ahead, and we are just super excited about the opportunity that's out there to continue to support, equip, and serve these families. So one of our goals is to serve 60 families with an initiative we're calling our Revive and Thrive Family Support Initiative. And this is essentially helping families find and access specialized mental health services. So families that come to us and are just needing help accessing some of those services for their mental health, for their foster kids, for their bio kids, even for their marriage, we want to be able to say yes to 60 of those families. Another thing is those toolkits for big emotions that you and I talked about. Our goal is to give 500 of those to orphans in Belize, to those kiddos in the children's home, to families in northern Colorado, and then to families nationwide. So we've just set a big goal of saying, hey man, if we can get 500 of these in the hands of kids, that's 500 more kids that by the age of 21 might not be homeless because they've learned how to regulate their emotions better, which is exciting for us. We host every year something we call the Family Strengthening Conference, an opportunity for these families to come together in person. The kids all get to go do a program, the teens go do a program, and then we just spend a day pouring into families, giving them training, getting them around a table of like-minded people. So our goal is to host 3 of those family strengthening conferences in 2024. Our goal is to finish resourcing 9 of those 10 children's homes in Belize with the Toolkit for Big Emotions and some caretaker training for them. And then we just always want to be available to offer mentorship and coaching from our team to families that come to us. So big goals, big dreams and big visions, but that's where big impact comes from. We're excited.
Lots going on.
Always.
You're busy.
Always.
All right.
Yes.
Again, we are here with Niki McIntosh, Director of Development with Finally Home. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be back and wrap it up, and we're going to see how you can help, volunteer, whatnot, and get involved with Finally Home.
Let's go.
Billy Idol on K4CO. We are joined, if you're just tuning in, with Niki McIntosh, Director of Development at the nonprofit Finally Home, helping families with foster families, adoptive families, and kinship families. Before we let everyone know where to find you, how to volunteer and donate, I want to sure to cover all these bases here. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Oh, man. I feel like I've talked a lot.
It's been great, Niki. You've been a great interview. So informative.
Man, when you find something in life that you're just kind of passionate about, and you realize that there's a huge need, and not only is there a need, but people don't know about the need. I think a part of my job that's so much fun is just the education piece of, hey, did you know that in your community there's this many foster and adoption families? Do you know what kinship care is? Did you know that these families need more support than your average family? And so it just helps, even if you're a teacher, understanding that narrative. If you've got kids that are fostered or adopted that are in your classroom, it helps you start to understand some of the disruption that's happening in their life. So just even the education piece, it's a privilege for me to be able to come on and just share about that, because I think the more we're aware, the more we as a community serve and love and lift each other up better. And we need that. We need that now more than ever.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, the website, as I said earlier, is very informative.
Finalyhome.net.
Finalyhome.net. And you can find out all about them and their programs that Niki just discussed. And be sure to click on that donate button on the top.
That's my favorite button.
That's your favorite
right
part of the website.
We even made it. They've made it blue for me. So just in case anybody gets lost at the top, it's right there.
You sure you don't want it in bright red? Or
I proposed. I proposed that. Actually, I proposed pink, but they shot me down. They said it's blue is a little more in our color scheme, and I said, all right, you win.
And you have a lot of volunteers as well.
Yeah. Oh, man. Do I have that stat? This is awesome. So in 2023, by the numbers, it's really important for us as a nonprofit to be able to report back to our partners and our donors and our community the impact that their giving and their volunteering was able to make in our community and with these families. So just real quick numbers, we were able to serve about 1,300 parents and caregivers with our tools, resources, and curriculum. 1,287 families were served. So those are foster adoption or kinship families. 866 of those were children and youth that we were able to serve. So again, we're talking about that at-risk population of children and teens. 180 volunteers came in and out of our programs and our different events, which totaled about 1,457 volunteer hours, which is just, what a privilege to have so many people in our community that say, we're going to give you not just our treasure, but we're going to give you our time and our talent to help meet this need in our community. So we've just been super privileged with the people that have volunteered with us. And some of our biggest volunteer opportunities, and they pop up. Events pop up all the time, and we always have needs. But we have, again, like one of our goals for 2024 is those 3 family strengthening conferences. And those are 100% volunteer run. Mm-hmm. And we put on a kids program, we put on a teen program, and then we have a program for parents. And so for us, we've got 60 kids that we've got, programs for. We had a dance class come in this last time, and how do you learn to express emotion through dance, which was a ton of fun. We had a playground situation. They do an arts and craft. They do an educational curriculum piece. So if you love kids and you love working with teenagers, we've got a place for you to be able to serve with us there. And then also just events that we do throughout our community. We take those events to other places, other agencies, organizations, church partners, kind of like you mentioned earlier, and we just go under our community and serve.
That's excellent. I think what you guys are doing is great. Very impressive. Finally Home, where you can donate, volunteer, or just ask for help.
Yeah. Can I give a little plug for
Absolutely.
our end of year giving? This is awesome. So last year, like I said, we served 866 children and youth and about 1,300 parents and caregivers. And we are, as everybody is, in our year-end campaign, and that ends on December 31st. Our goal headed into this campaign is to raise $80,000 to go towards supporting even more children, teens, and families next year. And this blows my mind. We have a matching gift opportunity happening thanks to a generous donor. So every gift that's given during our calendar year-end campaign is matched for double your dough and double your impact. So if you live in Colorado, if you live anywhere, any gift that you give is automatically doubled to help us get towards that $80,000, which is super exciting. And then this is really cool plug. If you live in Colorado, which most of you guys listening probably do, gifts of $2,500 or more by December 31st are eligible for a, listen up, 50% tax credit under the Colorado Child Care Contribution Tax Credit Act. So you can get a discount by giving. You can double your dough by giving. We're creating wins.
Wow, you are.
Wins to make an impact for foster, adoptive, and kinship families in your community.
Excellent. Well, Niki, you've said it all. I think you could have your own show here, actually.
This has been so much fun. Bucket list item checked off. Go live on the air while listening to 80s music. K4CO, you guys will forever go down in my heart.
We're going to be in touch. Niki, thank you so much for being here discussing Finally Home with us. This was a great interview, very well informative. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving, everyone listening. Kevin, thanks for having, and thanks for sharing your story. You even just saying like, hey, I actually was adopted is huge, because not many people know what to do with that, So you're just saying, hey, I'm here, I was adopted. I know some of that narrative is a sweet space. So thanks for sharing that with us.
You bet, and that's why I'm so impressed with Finally Home. I really like it a lot. So thank you so much again, Niki McIntosh, Finally Home. And again, happy Thanksgiving, and let's have you back, all right? I think you're a natural behind the microphone.
Hey, I can talk about anything all day long. You just put a topic in front of me, and I'm here for it.
All right,
so
Niki.
This is fun.
Thank you again. Take care.